and that kind of stuck with me. Non-traditional. Yeah, that's pretty much me. That's me to a T. That's my career, and I wear it as a badge of honor. I remember holding Isaac for the first time, and him just looking back up at me. Man, I'll never forget it. He cried a little bit when he was first born, as all babies do, but it was like maybe 30 seconds, and then silence. And I held him, and he just looked back up at me, and I looked down at him, complete silence, and it's like we were both trying to make sense of what the hell we were looking at. Just trying to figure it out. I'll never forget the day I heard the news that I had not only gotten into OTS, but been picked up for a pilot slot. I remember calling and surprising my parents. Do you remember? And I gave them the news. I didn't even tell them I was applying, which was, in hindsight, it was a strategic act. Because this way, if I didn't get in, I didn't have to disappoint them, with the bad news. And then if I didn't, hey, guess what? I applied and I got in. Surprise! Luckily, it was the latter. I remember getting a call on the golf course later that same year, telling me that I should cut my round short because our second son, Ethan, was on his way. To which I said, babe, are you sure? Because I'm having an amazing round right now. It's going to be the best round. She's like, yeah, you better get back here. I'm like, all right. He was 5 weeks early. Right, Elizabeth? 5 weeks early. But man, perfectly healthy. 7 pounds and change at 5 weeks early. Thank God he can go full term. All right. I remember calling Elizabeth the first night of OTS. Okay, here's the story that the boss exaggerated. It was 2 days before my 29th birthday. I left it out, but I did my 22nd birthday in basic training. I sucked tear gas that day. Happy birthday. My 29th birthday, 2 days into OTS. But I got to make a phone call the first night we were there. They said, call your family. And she answered the phone, and I said something to the extent of, this is going to be rough. But I think my voice cracked a little bit, and it may have trembled a little bit, so it was probably more like, this is going to be rough. I also remember being mad at the prior enlisted officers I spoke to, trying to get the cheat codes on OTS. They said they thought it was easier than basic training, and that was not my experience at all. The most fun I never want to have again. I think that's probably how I described that entire year. I remember my squadron commander at the time, Mark Burnett, swearing me in as a new second lieutenant, and my buddy, Staff Sergeant Jeff Huber, giving me my first salute. My folks, my brother, and his wife Kelly all made the 17-plus hour drive down to Alabama to see it. Thank you for that, guys. I'll never forget pulling up to Columbus Air Force Base with 2 cars, 2 kids, 2 cars, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat, and seeing my first T6 buzz across, and just thinking to myself, are they really going to let me fly that? That is a bold move, Air Force. I remember some of my pilot training classmates asking me back then how the heck I managed to get through training with a family. They saw it as another huge responsibility to balance with the all-consuming world that is pilot training, Air Force pilot training. But the reality for me was my family weren't a hindrance in pilot training. They got me through it. They held me accountable to something bigger than myself, knowing that if I quit or didn't give it my best, I wasn't just letting myself down. They were also my source of sanity and self-esteem after some of the most humbling days of getting my ass kicked, both in the cockpit and in the flight room. So thank you for that. Now I'd love to stand here and tell you that I remember the day that Elizabeth pinned on my wings, but something about the trauma of pilot training, I think I just completely blocked out graduation and I barely remember it. But I remember going to the beach with my entire family, right after that. Everybody drove down from Virginia, and it was like a great exhale after a long and stressful year. And I know my mom worked her butt off to make that happen, so thank you, Mom. I remember my first landing in the KC-10 on runway 21 left at Travis Air Force Base. This weird sensation came over me as I flared that big, beautiful bird a few feet above the runway before gently setting her down like a baby on a soft bed of pillows. The weird sensation was this, that I wasn't in a massive 350,000-pound airplane sitting 20 feet above the runway. It honestly looked and felt just like a Cessna 152, the first plane I ever felt. Everything just seemed to slow down, and I was in some weird Zen state or something. I remember the IP getting exciting and laughing. I guess I did a good job. And I allowed myself to feel a little bit of a thrill, but I was still so focused on getting the call outs and the procedures and doing everything right during the touch and go that just allowed myself just a minute of feeling good before back to business. I remember taking Elizabeth to David Graham Medical Center at Travis Air Force Base, still 7 weeks to go in her pregnancy. They gave her some drugs to try and stop the labor, but it wasn't happening. Alice would not be stopped. I remember guessing her weight as they brought her to the scale. 5 pounds, I shouted. I was dead on. She spent 2 weeks in the NICU, and I remember taking Ethan and Isaac to meet her for the first time. She eventually went home with us with a breathing monitor, and she went home with us with a breathing monitor, and it would sound an alarm if her breathing became irregular. Remember that? Yeah. Those were some rough nights, especially for Elizabeth, who probably didn't get a deep sleep for the first month. Her mommy senses would not allow it. I remember trying to do receiver air refueling for the first time during my first deployment as a co-pilot in the KC-10. We had some time to kill, so the IP let me try to close the 50 feet of the tanker. I struggled and struggled, oscillating back and forth, left and right. And I remember saying aloud, "This is so effing hard." But I did not say effing. The room operator sitting behind me laughed. I remember on the eve before departing on another deployment, calling my parents in the middle of the night and sobbing, telling them I didn't want to go. You guys remember that? I told them I didn't understand why I had to leave my family yet again. I remember Dad asking me if I was scared, and I said no, and I really wasn't. But I was tired. I was definitely starting to feel very tired. I remember driving cross country from California to New Jersey in 2 cars, this time with 3 kids and 2 dogs. We left the cat at home this time. We were bound for our next assignment at McGuire, New Jersey. Elizabeth and I both agreed that northern Utah looked like another planet. And then I crumpled the side of my Nissan backing out of a parking garage in St. Louis. What a great way to start the next assignment. I remember deploying 48 days after arriving at McGuire. Welcome to the squadron. Okay, see you later. That's pretty much how it went. That was number 10 for me. I remember sitting down in my commander's office when I got back, telling him that I needed to take a knee. The tempo of being a tanker pilot, always being gone so much, was taking its toll on me and the family. If I didn't get some relief, I could lose them. I told him about my quick deployment after arriving at McGuire, and he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, "You know, you probably could have said no to that." I could say no? That's a thing? Fast forward to a few weeks later, and I heard my name was on the short list to deploy again soon. I walked into my DO's office. I didn't knock that time either. Pulled out the pilot roster and basically demanded we go through every name on that list, and he tell me why none of them could go instead of me. I did not end up going on that deployment. I like to tell that story because I think that's when I started to find my voice. I know you guys probably only know this, Kevin, but I used to be a shut up and color guy. That ship sailed a while ago. I remember my second commander at McGuire, Jason Batchelor, called me into his office and started yelling at me like I was in trouble. I had no idea what I had done. Then he slammed some papers down in front of me and said I was late for training. It was my notification of my next assignment to Ramstein, the dream gig, flying the C-37. A few months later, I remember having a very different conversation with my commander. He said, start thinking about how your office would do your job if none of you could come to the building anymore. Days later, the COVID-19 lockdown was on. I'll never forget the stress of a pending move overseas in the midst of a global pandemic. Trying to sell a house and show it while maintaining social distancing. I'll never forget the day we were in McGuire TLF and I called AMC Passenger Travel at BWI just to confirm my flight for the next day. The airman, poor airman on the other line. Sir, are you local? I'm about 2 hours away. Why do you ask? That flight's been moved up to today. It's departing in a few hours. Okay. Man, the look on Elizabeth's face. I handed her that gem.
There was laundry in the washing machine.
Take the dog to the vet to get the passport. But we had our little stress out, and then the family sprung into action. Our amazing friends rushed to get us down to Baltimore, and we somehow made the flight. I'll never forget the 2 weeks of quarantine after arriving to Ramstein, totally dependent on complete strangers to bring us food and necessities. And then trying to integrate into a new organization when barely anyone was working in the building every day. Not to mention in processing a base. I mean, it's difficult enough to process Ramstein when nobody's at work. I mean, come on. I'll always remember how incredibly struck I was after my first flight in the C-37 with a full crew. I couldn't believe the level of expertise, professionalism, and just airmanship I'd witnessed. And I remember trying to convey that to the crew in the debrief, how blown away I was, and how excited I was to be a part of a squadron with people this damn good. I'll never forget being Landon Ng's co-pilot on his aircraft commander check ride, going into Duplessis, Georgia, in some of the nastiest winds I've ever experienced. I don't know if Landon's here right now, but he probably does a better job of telling that story. The crew told me the general and his party clapped after we were down, but I was so busy white-knuckling the yoke that I didn't hear it. I'll always remember flying a C-37 into my hometown field, Richmond Executive, and seeing my mom waving that giant American flag on the infield of... I blew her kisses as I taxied by. I'll never forget telling Colonel Field I was going to run for Booster Club president and feeling so silly about it. Because let's face it, I'm way too old to be running a Booster Club. To have such an old guy basically running the squadron's fund department, that goes back to that non-traditional thing that I was telling you about, right? I was also nervous about how it would react, but the smile on his face instantly put me at ease. I'll never forget having so much fun trying to make the 76 fun. The presidential messages over the WhatsApp, the shameless and constant plugs to sell merch, the stress and thrill of selling Chick-fil-A sandwiches at Freedom Fest and having the longest line at the event, the smell of pickles in my car for weeks afterwards. Being the squadron ops controller while collecting landing fees from new arrivals, and the best Christmas party ever at the K-Town Soccer Stadium. That was a good one. That was a good one to end on. So, thank you, Air Force. Thank you to all the squadrons I've served in. Thank you, Alley Cats, Raptors, Gucci's, Deucers, and of course, thank you, Doves. Thank you for being the cherry on top to an amazing adventure. And memories to last a lifetime. But more importantly, I have to thank the people that have been with me through every base, every organization, and every deployment. Cindy Andrzejczyk, officially my mother-in-law, although she's never really treated me like a son-in-law. Mom, you and Rich have been welcoming to me from day one. I've always felt comfortable around you. I've never felt like an in-law, just a son. You have been and will continue to be role models to me. Thank you for taking us in between houses in California. And thanks for taking us in again a couple months. I love you both very much. Judy and Bill Jenkins, Mom and Dad. Mom, thank you for always going out of your way to be there for me. Thanks for always trying to offer solutions. We joke, she's a doctor, she's a lawyer, she's a therapist. And thanks for your unwavering support and love. Oh, and thanks for the whole giving birth to me thing. You mentioned that earlier today, just to remind me in case I forgot. That was a class act. Dad, thanks for teaching me how to fly airplanes over 30 years ago and fanning that passion. Thanks for bestowing a solid work ethic into me. I hope someday you'll learn to forgive me for not playing football my senior year in high school. Still can't let it go. Still down in there. All right, Isaac. Thank you for being resilient and unflappable. Your sunny disposition and unabashed affection for me brings me strength and inspiration constantly. I hope you never lose that. Thank you. Ethan, thank you for being you. Sorry, I lost my place. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being you and dealing with being an Air Force child. Your curiosity, love of facts and knowledge always makes for interesting conversations. I hope you continue to ask questions and look at the world with a curious eye. Thank you. Alice, your kindness, compassion, and empathy is a wonderful thing to come home to every day. Thank you for always being concerned about me when I'm down. Your emotional intelligence is years beyond your age. Thank you. Finally, Elizabeth. Hey, how's it going? You look nice today. This went long. I'm sorry, guys. There's no words to convey the gratitude and utter humility I feel knowing that you're my partner. After everything we've gone through together 19 years this summer, you're still here. You still got my back as you always have, and I will always have yours. We did it. We survived the Air Force. And now the dog days are over. I can't promise it's going to be sunshines and lollipops because I'm still going to be a pilot. Probably still going to miss some birthdays and holidays. But I'm hopeful that the friendly skies will be a much sweeter and smoother ride compared to the military life. Thank you, babe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for setting your Air Force career aside to be a full-time mom. And thank you for continuing to serve as an amazing Air Force spouse and for taking this ride with me. Shall we go on to the next adventure? Okay, Dubs, that's it for me. But remember, there's no goodbyes. Just see you later. So I'll see you Dubs later. I know. Do I stay standing?
If you want.
Okay.
You're tired.
You thought we were finished.
I'm gonna sit down.
We're not finished yet. We still have some special presentations to give to the one and only. Pillars, if you want to do that, or Morgan first.
Kevin! So, not as in many words as you just eloquently put, but on the topic of murdering birds.
Yeah.
And on behalf of all the Gulfstreams and the wonderful work of Rob Long, got you going away gifts.
Thank you.
So, there's some parts here, no dead birds,
Some
but,
dead birds in there?
you know, definitely some aircraft parts, because as he said, we did have 2 Finnies.
That's right.
He really showed us how to ground a plane,
Yeah.
murder a bird,
Mhm.
flat spot a tire,
Yeah.
and break the brakes. That's all the things.
That wasn't my
All the things. Absolutely. Our only time we've ever flown together, by the way. The one landing we've ever had. So, we got this gift. Oh, by the way, it's engraved.
Oh, nice. Nice.
We also got some other things in here. So that's not it, but you could hold that.
All right, I'll hold this.
Because I got something to give to your lovely spouse first.
I don't want to stand up.
Get up here. Oh, she's crying.
Shut up.
So, In Love with a Dove, 76, we got you your own set
Sweet.
of whiskey glasses. Because, you know, living with
Yeah.
Kevin.
Wow, does require
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Down there?
Yes, you know. But she doesn't get her own set, because we do have a set for Kevin as well. So, my cap, do not delay, property of Major Jenkins, vital C-37A flight safety equipment.
Booze.
It's also some engraved glasses
Oh,
and a whiskey set.
Thank you so much.
So,
It's beautiful. Thank you.
we'll use these later.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Thank you, everyone.
It's not over. They got more stuff for you.
We got one more for you, buddy.
All right, what do we got?
We got more.
So, I actually think this is the only time in my recollection, anybody other than a commander or DO has awarded a gift from our community in the C-21.
Oh, man.
As El Presidente, I'm sure he'll use the megaphone today, but
Oh, I forgot that was there.
from yelling down the hallways and the crazy stuff that you did, all the mentoring, Thirsty Thursdays, thank you for showing our young guys and setting the precedent for the next C-37 pilot.
Wow.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody that signed that.
Oh, we're not done yet.
We got more, baby.
I call Madam President and all of the Booster Club members that are here.
Yeah.
All of you.
Come on.
Retired Madam President.
I'm tired. She's going notes? Yes!
Here's your litho, which I believe last year you actually helped to pioneer the new lithos with the help from the former Booster Club. But
With my
El-
Minister of Merch.
Yes. El Presidente, thank you for everything you did and for paving the way and leaving these biggest shoes to fill.
Thank you so much. All right, Freedom Fest is coming up. You guys got to get busy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I believe.
Is that it? That's all you guys got me? Oh, you guys love me.
Unfortunately, this concludes the ceremony. There are margaritas and refreshments in the back, courtesy of El Presidente himself.
You're welcome.
Please join us in congratulating the Jenkins family on their 20 years of long, very long.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's get some food and some drinks. Sorry I talked so long.